Everyone tells you the same things about insomnia. Fix your sleep hygiene, take melatonin or magnesium, have a consistent bedtime. And if that's worked for you, amazing. But if you're still here, still struggling, I'm going to tell you exactly why. There are 6 specific reasons your insomnia is still here. And I guarantee at least one of them, probably more, is something nobody has ever pointed out to you before. And I know this because I was missing all 6 of them for 16 years. And the day that I finally understood them, everything changed. And it's now been over 8 years since insomnia has had any control over my sleep or my life. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through these 6 pillars that actually fixed my insomnia for good. These are the things that I couldn't find anywhere, not from doctors, not from sleep specialists, not from conventional advice in a Google search. And they're the exact reasons you're still stuck. The first 5 pillars will start retraining your brain and your nervous system to sleep naturally again, but they will only take you so far without pillar number 6, which is the one that makes that natural sleep your permanent long-term reality, and it's the one that most people never get to. So make sure you stay with me all the way through. Pillar number 1 is to interrupt the autopilot program. The first thing that you need to understand is how insomnia actually works, because most people think that insomnia is caused by whatever triggered it in the first place. A stressful life event, a difficult period in their life, anxiety, trauma. And while all those things absolutely can cause a few rough nights, that's not what's keeping insomnia going. What keeps insomnia going is a habit that gets formed in the brain. Here's what happens. You have a few bad nights. Then you start worrying about your sleep at bedtime, wondering if it's going to happen again. And so then your brain starts to associate nighttime with worrying and keeping you alert because it thinks there's something important to worry about. And then because your brain is just so incredibly efficient, it automates that response, just like any habit. The more you repeat it, the more automatic it becomes until one day your brain is just going into high alert mode every single night without you even consciously triggering it. It's just running on autopilot. And this is where fight or flight becomes your default operating mode. Your brain learned at some point that staying alert at night was the thing to do. And so it kept doing it long after your life experiences changed because your brain doesn't update its programming automatically. It just keeps running the most familiar pattern if you don't intentionally start to interrupt it. So here's how I like to look at this. We've got your true self, the real you, the version of you who was born knowing how to sleep. Sleep is your natural ability, and that ability never went away. You still have it. Your true self is also balanced, grounded, not chronically stressed or anxious. Balanced, grounded, and sleeping effortlessly, that is your natural state. That is the state you were born into and the one that you can return to. Then we also have your survival self, the version of you that got caught up in the worry, that started trying to fix your sleep, control your sleep, force sleep. That part of you learned to see nighttime as something to stress over. So here's what I want you to start doing. Begin observing yourself and noticing which version of you is showing up. Because the survival self isn't bad or wrong, it's just overprotective. It thinks it's keeping you safe, but it's not accurate. It's reacting to threats that aren't really there. Your true self knows that. Your true self is not threatened by nighttime. Your true self sleeps, and whatever version of you you identify with becomes your reality. So the first step is simply awareness. The moment you understand that your brain has just been running an automated program and that you are not the program, something shifts. You start to create distance between yourself and that autopilot pattern. And that distance is exactly where your brain starts to rewire. Because every single time you catch yourself and you recognize that survival self running on autopilot, you're interrupting that pattern. And every time you interrupt autopilot, even for just a moment, your brain gets the signal that there is another way. There's another way to do things. And to show you that this is absolutely possible, here are some people from my Sleep Success online program who started doing exactly this. You can pause the video if you'd like to read through these fully. Pillar number 2 is to protect what you feed your mind. Most people trying to fix their sleep focus entirely on what they do at night, their evening routine, their bedroom environment, what time they go to bed. But what you feed your mind during the day matters just as much, if not more. If you spend your day consuming news that tells you the world is falling apart, scrolling through social media, being bombarded by other people's energy and opinions, absorbing drama, negativity, and fear based content, what message do you think your survival brain is receiving all day long? It's the combination of overstimulation and fear that your brain is interpreting as danger, danger, and that doesn't help your brain calm down when you close your eyes at night. This is one of the most powerful shifts I made. I became really intentional about what I was feeding my mind. I stopped consuming content that triggered anxiety or put me in a bad mood, especially in the evenings. And instead, I started filling my mind with things that uplifted me and reminded me of what was possible. Personal development books from Tony Robbins, Napoleon Hill, Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, thought leaders who helped me rewire out of that default fear-based thinking that had become so normal, I didn't even notice it anymore. Because your brain is always looking for evidence to confirm whatever you've focused on. So feed it fear, and it finds more reasons to feel afraid. Feed it possibility and calm, and it starts finding evidence of that instead. So start being intentional about your mental diet. What you consume is quietly shaping how regulated your nervous system feels every single day, and your nervous system is what determines how well you sleep. Pillar number 3 is to retrain your brain's response to daily stress. Here's something most people miss entirely. Anxiety and insomnia aren't two separate problems. They're symptoms of the same thing, a survival brain that is stuck in overdrive. Insomnia is not really a sleep problem. It's your brain communicating that it doesn't feel safe enough to fully relax and let go. And the reason it doesn't feel safe is almost always rooted in how your nervous system is operating during the day. The stress you carry during the day doesn't just disappear at bedtime. It carries over, it accumulates. And by the time you get into bed, your nervous system is so activated that sleep is difficult, even though your body is physically exhausted. Your survival brain is constantly scanning your environment for threats. And the problem is, it can't tell the difference between an actual life or death threat or the pressure that you're putting on yourself to finish your to-do list, to answer every email, to be perfect at everything and never slow down. To your survival brain, all of it feels like danger. So you end up walking through your entire day with your nervous system treating everything like an emergency. The unanswered email, the unfinished task, the difficult conversation that you need to have, the thing you said 3 days ago that you're still replaying in your head. None of these things are life or death. But your survival brain doesn't know that because of the weight you've been unconsciously giving them. The emotional charge you attach to everyday things is what's signaling danger to your brain. The goal is to retrain your brain's response so that it doesn't get thrown into a stress response over things that, in the grand scheme of things, aren't all that important. So start catching yourself when you're over attaching importance to things that don't deserve that level of emotional charge. Just ask yourself, how important is this really? And if it's not a life or death level of importance, take a deep breath and release the pressure that you've been putting on yourself over that thing. Because when you take a pause to actually question how important something really is, you are consciously stepping back and you're back in the driver's seat of your brain instead of letting that survival program keep running quietly on autopilot in the background. When your brain stops treating everything in your life as an emergency during the day, your nervous system naturally starts to settle, and a settled nervous system at night is one that can finally let go and sleep. Pillar number 4 is that your passions are part of your healing. This one surprises people because it has nothing to do with sleep directly, and yet it was one of the most powerful shifts in my entire insomnia journey. When I dealt with insomnia, my whole life revolved around just getting through the day. Everything was about survival, about managing exhaustion, changing my plans depending on how well I slept. There was no room for actually living. And what I didn't realize at the time was that my brain had nothing inspiring to focus on, nothing that made it feel alive or excited. And a brain with nothing meaningful to look forward to, its tendency is to stay stuck in survival mode. So I made a decision. I made a decision to start taking my goals and my passions seriously, to stop putting them off until I fixed my sleep, to stop waiting until I felt better before I started living. For me, that meant pursuing work and a career that actually felt meaningful. I stopped myself finally from staying stuck in a job just because it felt safe. I also got back into dance, something that was always a passion of mine, and I started making more time for the people and the activities that genuinely filled me up. And here's what I noticed. The more time I spent doing things that felt aligned and meaningful, the less my brain was stuck in its head worrying about sleep. The less time and energy I had to fixate on whether I was going to sleep that night. And the more my nervous system regulated itself into a more balanced state. Because here's the thing, when your brain feels like life is exciting and meaningful and worth showing up for, it stops perceiving everyday existence as a threat. It stops needing to keep you on high alert, and it starts to feel safe as your new default state. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight, but start asking yourself, what fills me up? What have I been putting off? What would make me feel more alive? And just start moving towards that one step at a time. Quick side note, if you've been struggling with your sleep for months or years, you're definitely going to watch my free masterclass too. This is where I go deep into the exact strategy I teach my clients to end chronic insomnia for good, including the subconscious ways you've been accidentally sabotaging your sleep without realizing it. That link is in the description. Now, pillar 5 takes this one step further. Pillar 5 is to protect your energy. Because even when you start doing more of what fills you up, if you're simultaneously letting everything and everyone drain that energy out of you, you end up right back where you started. I used to say yes to everything. I was constantly putting other people's needs before my own. I was showing up to things I didn't want to attend. I was getting pulled into other people's drama. I was letting people vent to me for hours and I would just walk away feeling completely depleted. I was sacrificing my own peace to keep everyone else comfortable. And I didn't realize what this was doing to my nervous system. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you send a signal of resentment and stress through your body. Every time you let someone drain your energy and you don't protect yourself, your survival brain registers that as a threat. Every time you sacrifice yourself and feel that internal tension, your nervous system stays activated. And that activation, that low grade chronic stress of constantly giving more than you have or of betraying your own needs, that carries directly into your night and into your sleep. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is a nervous system regulation must. Every no you say to something that drains you is a yes to your own peace. And your own peace is directly connected to your sleep. So start asking yourself, does this fill me up or does this drain me? And just start making choices accordingly. You don't have to cut everyone out of your life. You just have to start valuing your own energy as the precious resource that it is. Because when you stop letting your energy be siphoned away, your nervous system gets to keep more of it. And that reserve of calm and peace is exactly what makes sleep so much easier. Pillar number 6 is to make peace with your sleep. And this pillar, I genuinely believe, is the biggest reason I haven't had insomnia come back in over 8 years. I completely took my attention off my sleep. I stopped making sleep this super important thing that absolutely had to happen a certain way. And that shift changed everything. Because before that, sleep was consuming my entire life. I was constantly worrying about it. I didn't want to be out too late. If I had to wake up early for something, it would send me into a complete spiral. I would lie in bed every single night with my heart racing, wondering if tonight was going to be another bad night. And all of that worry, all of that resistance was exactly what was keeping me awake. Because every time I sent stress and frustration towards my sleep, I was just reinforcing to my brain that something was wrong, that there was something to be afraid of. And a brain that thinks it's in danger is not going to let you sleep. So I had to get to a place where I genuinely felt peace no matter what happened that night. The kind of peace where even if I didn't sleep, I was okay. Even lying awake at 3 a.m., I was okay. It was okay to be awake. The world was not going to end. And here's the beautiful irony in this. The moment you stop fighting your sleep, the moment you genuinely stop caring whether it comes or not, that is exactly the signal your brain needs to finally feel safe. And when your brain feels safe, sleep comes automatically. Think about the people in your life who sleep well. They don't think about their sleep. They don't strategize about it. They don't dread bedtime. Sleep is just something that happens. It's an afterthought. That is where you are heading, and it is absolutely possible. I've been there for 8 years, and I've helped thousands of people get there too. Start practicing indifference towards your sleep. When the worry thoughts come up, just notice them and let them pass. When you have a bad night, resist the urge to make it mean something. When you get into bed, your only job is to rest, not to sleep, just to rest. Because the less attention you give your sleep, the less your survival brain interprets bedtime as something to worry about. And when there's nothing to worry about, there's no reason to stay alert, and that is when sleep happens all on its own. I know that when you've been struggling with this for a long time, making peace with it can feel like you're giving up on finding a solution, but it's actually the opposite. It is surrendering to your current experience instead of fighting it. And there's a profound difference between the two. Because here's what I truly believe. Sleep issues are here to teach you something. They were for me. My insomnia taught me more about myself than almost anything else in my life. It forced me to look at the way I was living, the way I was thinking, the way I was treating myself, the things I had been ignoring. And that way, insomnia is not your enemy. It's actually a messenger. It's your mind and body quite literally waking you up to a part of yourself that needs attention, that needs healing, that needs to be seen. And when you start approaching it that way with curiosity instead of resistance, something really profound shifts. You stop fighting the insomnia and you start listening to it. And that's often when everything starts to change dramatically. So instead of asking, how do I fix this? Try asking, what is this trying to show me? Because that question alone can open doors that years of trying to force sleep never could. And now that you understand the 6 pillars, go watch this video next, because the fear of not sleeping is the single biggest thing that stops people from making peace with their sleep. And in this video, I walk you through exactly how to dissolve the fear for good. You can watch it right here.